Hi, Taylor T. Carlson, and I'm back with another video for you today. We're going into the Arrow Video Vaults again, one of my personal favorite boutique specialty movie labels, and we're going to look at their new release of a cult classic. This, of course, is Flash Gordon. This just came out on 4K, one of the very first 4K releases from Arrow Video. We'll do a brief unboxing, and then I'll share my opinions of the movie and talk about some of the extra features that have been included here. Here's the front cover. This is a slip cover. There's the spine. Other spine. Here's the back cover. Pretty much a rundown with a synopsis of the movie, list of the bonus features. That entire paragraph there is bonus material, so as you can tell, Arrow, as always, has pretty much gone all out here. The sleeve inside the jewel case is reversible. I already reversed it, so it's got something more akin to the original 1980s movie poster art. Here's the spine. And the back of this package, pretty much the same deal. Got your movie summary and then your rundown of the bonus features. Inside the package we have our disc. It's a black case with no decorative artwork inside whatsoever. There's a small leaflet inside. This has an ad for their forthcoming Blu-ray reissue of Mallrats, as well as an ad for a few other releases they have coming up. Flash Gordon, of course, is based on the popular 1930s comic strip which spawned a popular movie serial series. It's interesting to note that George Lucas actually wanted to make a movie of Flash Gordon back before he was a wealthy, well-known talent in Hollywood, and his failure to attain the rights is what resulted in him eventually going on to create Star Wars. Flash Gordon is directed by Mike Hodges. The film stars Sam Jones as Flash Gordon and the late great Max von Sydow as Ming the Merciless, along with a cast of plenty of others, many of whom would go on to fame in other projects. Even future James Bond Timothy Dalton has a minor role here. The film revolves around the title character, Flash Gordon, who's a football player for the New York Jets, and meanwhile, out in space, the evil Ming the Merciless becomes aware of the planet Earth and puts into motion a plan to ravage the planet and remake it in his own image. Flash and his friends end up abducted by Ming, and they end up having to do what's necessary to survive and fight back, uniting several of the tribes that have been conquered by Ming, trying to get them to set aside their own differences and work together to fight against a common evil. The film itself, admittedly, is on the campy side. It had a fairly big budget for its day, and some of the sets actually look gorgeous, as do the costumes. There's some blue screen rear projection stuff and some miniatures that admittedly have not aged the best, but I think in a way they tend to add to the charm of the movie. It was originally going to be directed by British director Nicholas Roeg. However, he was a bit of a perfectionist and an artist, and he had a lot of falling outs with Dino De Laurentiis, who was going to produce and put out the film, and this ultimately led to Roeg being let go and Mike Hodges taking over. One of the people working behind the scenes was Lorenzo Semple Jr., who had previously worked on the similarly campy 1960s Batman show, and the end result in some ways does sort of take on that tone, and the lack of a more serious artistic tone has been talked about frequently over the years. It makes you wonder what kind of a movie they would have ended up with had they gone that route. However, the end result still is nothing to scoff at. Yes, it's a little campy and corny and old-fashioned, but again, I think these are things that just add to the charm of the movie. This is not Oscar material, but at the same time, I don't think it was ever really intended to be. It's a fun, campy, throwback sci-fi movie, and personally, I had a ton of fun revisiting it upon getting this release from Arrow. You're probably wondering, too, how does this release look? Prior to this, I had only watched Flash Gordon one time, and that was back in the earlier days of Blu-ray when it had been released on Blu-ray disc by Universal. I unfortunately don't own that earlier disc, so I can't do a direct comparison. However, I'll be the first to say that Flash Gordon looks phenomenal in 4K. This is a very colorful film, especially when you go to places like the court of Ming the Merciless, and you have so many people wearing different colored, elaborate, exotic outfits with so many different colors, and these colors just really want to pop off the screen. The level of detail is staggering. You can see a lot of the wires and a lot of the imperfections in the models, and again, I love seeing stuff like this, seeing a faithful transfer in ultra high def that brings out all the little nuances that you wouldn't get in a lesser format. Of course, one thing you're probably wondering about if you've purchased Flash Gordon before is, do these bonus features, in addition to the 4K transfer, make this release worth buying? They absolutely do if you're a fan of the movie. Arrow has pulled out all the stops and given us a great supplemental package here. There's 3 commentary tracks on here. In addition to that, there's a lot of new interviews and featurettes, including vintage ones as well. You've got plenty of members of the cast and crew being interviewed. There's even a vintage television featurette on the making of the film from back when it first came out, and an episode of the animated series of Flash Gordon that was airing at the time. One of my personal favorite things about this movie, of course, is the soundtrack by one of my personal favorite rock bands, Queen. And one of the guys I talked to in some of the interview clips is Queen guitarist Brian May. Just how many people and how much material they were able to compile for this set is phenomenal. Granted, I don't think you're going to instantly become a fan of this movie if you're not already a fan, but this supplemental package, this 4K transfer, everything here comes together perfectly, and it's definitely, in my mind, one of the best re-releases of a vintage title this year so far. Are you a fan of the 1980 Flash Gordon film? Have you picked it up on any format? Do you own this new Arrow release? Comment down below. Let me know what you think if you haven't had a chance to pick this release up. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel for additional content and to like this video if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you next time.